Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Random. Egberto, Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being part of the show. We're going to have a great show for you today. Welcome aboard, Lee Grant. Hey, y'all, he says, from Montgomery County. We have Bridge MCP from Binghamton, New York. In upstate New York, we have Brother Ray. Brother Ray is out from 3rd Ward. Welcome aboard. Eric Hayes says, yo. Here from Kingwood and Atascocita, Texas. Michael Rudnin says, Egberto, anything in the mail yet? Not. It comes in a little later today. I'll check, let you know right away, my brother. Thank you so kindly. Michael Rudnin says, just found out my printer can do double-sided printing. Sometimes it's the little things that brighten your day. Yeah, they do that channeling thing. They bring the paper in, then they put it through another channel and flip it and do it on the backside. Or if you have a very expensive printer, it can actually do it at the same time. If I recall, I think I saw one of those. Am I lying? I think I saw one of those. Anyway, great that you found out your printer can do double-sided printing. It's wonderful when you can do that because, you waste less paper. You have to do less in flipping things around. Eric Hayes says New York City ranks first overall, requiring an income of $138,570 for a single person to live comfortably. In contrast, single people in Houston need to earn $75,000, the lowest amount of all major U.S. cities examined. I love Texas for its low cost. However, I don't like Texas for not taking care of its people. Too large a percentage of people in Texas fall through the crack. Anyway, my peeps, how are you doing? I trust all is well with everybody. I have 2 clips from 2 callers from the show this morning that I just had to play because I thought the interaction was so good and the what we talked about was so necessary. So that is one of the first things that I'm going to play from this morning's show. If you saw it this morning, then forgive me, but we have quite a few other things to show as well. So let's go ahead and get started with that caller that said we have a sick nation. Let's let you hear how it actually went down, and then we'll take it on the other side. It seems like we already have 3 calls. So as I said, you guys come first. Whatever we don't cover from what we were supposed to cover, go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Let's go to John, line 1. Come on in.
Great to chat with you again. I'll go back to my original premise. A healthy nation does not elect a Donald Trump. Right? There's something wrong with the maybe it's the Electoral College, because of the goofy, but isn't the Electoral College in the Constitution, So,
yes.
Yeah. So, you have to deal with Wyoming with, there are 2 senators and their Electoral College. Any rate, but how do we win back the Trump voters? And also, Justin, who do you think is running the White House with Biden? I mean, Biden clearly is not.
All right, let me take each one of those things that you brought up. When you talk about a healthy nation does not elect a Trump, I couldn't have said that any better. And thank you, John, for saying that. We are not a healthy nation. And we're not a healthy nation for various reasons. Our economic system has laid waste to the average American citizen. When under the Trump administration, 80% of people lived paycheck to paycheck in a rich country where they saw the stock market zoom in, where they saw everybody doing, all the very small amount of people doing very well. Under Biden, that has been mitigated somewhat, where only 60% of people live in paycheck to paycheck. But remember, 60% of people represent about 200 million people, meaning the vast majority of the country. So yes, it's a country that is sick. It's a country that is constantly looking for somebody who's going to save the country. And because we have the biggest master around now, because we have I call antiseptic slavery right now, where we are all turned into a new kind of slave. It's just one that is nicer to look at. It's antiseptic. It's antiseptic. So you hit the nail on the head. It's not a healthy country. What we have to do is work on things from several angles. The way we tackle I'm coming to everybody, but I want to say this. The way we tackle the virus, you're a doctor, if I recall, John, the way we tackled the virus, the AIDS virus, is we realized if we hit it with one drug, it eventually mutates, doesn't support that drug anymore, and then it kills the patient again. Well, what did we do? We created something called a cocktail that hit the drugs from so many angles. The drug didn't have a chance to mutate to solve what's killing it. And that's why Magic Johnson and all these people can live forever with no traces of the drug of the virus in their body. In as much as it may be hiding in certain places in their bodies, we don't know, but that's how we tackle it. The same thing we have to do with America. We have to tackle it from the economic system must be modified so that it's humane, meaning healthcare, all those things have to be taken into account so that people really see a government working for them, because we, in fact, are the government. Number two, you asked, how are we going to get to the Trump voters without what would I say? As a 501c3, I have to be careful on how I talk about the things that I've written, right? But I wrote a book called It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relative Friends and Neighbors. And the reason why I wrote that book was I personally developed different ways of dealing with folks. I live in Kingwood, Texas, a very red area, and I enjoy my Republicans and have coffee with my Republicans. I enjoy everybody. How? It is, first of all, remembering that while on the radio, I do most of the talking. When I'm talking to my buddies, I do most of the listening. And I give the respect to let folks understand that I am not just taking what they say to give them a response, but I'm listening to them to see where they are. And in seeing where they are, I can actually come to a symbiotic relationship with them to say, okay, let me ask you to see things through my eyes as I'm trying to see things through your eyes. And when they realize that there's so much commonality that we have, generally speaking, things change. In my book, I wrote an article that said one of these people came into the gym when I was working out, slapped me on the back and said, "You're going to like me, but I ain't no Democrat." And he said, "I'm voting the way I'm supposed to vote, but I ain't no Democrat." In other words, he was going to vote in this particular election for a whole slew of Democrats, but not because he was changing his ideology, not because he was changing who he was, but because he was working in the best interest of his family, etc. When we show people that, things change. So those are your two answers, Brother John. One is, yes, we're a sick nation. Two is, how do we talk to MAGA? We talk to MAGA by respecting that there is a reason they become there. I understand that the evangelicals have become the way they have. They have become unchristian because the leaders who should be their pastors have become evil. When we talk about somebody like Ed Young talking the way he talks about other human beings, you wonder why these people are able to talk the way they do. That's the reason. John, please come back.
Listen, I'm sorry. I think we need to somehow bring back the middle class. I mean, you said, under Biden, you said 60% live paycheck to paycheck. That's non-sustainable.
No, it's not.
When I was a kid, I grew up in Northern California, like what's now Silicon Valley. Everyone was middle class. I mean, everyone was, there are some kids whose parents had money. Most of us were just average middle class, went to public schools. Public schools were good. Now, I couldn't afford to buy a garage in that area. Now, I know that's hyper wealthy area, but that speaks toward the decline of the middle class, the people who just have daily jobs. They pay their taxes, they obey the laws, they raise the pillars in their community, and I just don't see that. And I think that's the illness in our nation.
Thank you, John. I think when you mentioned it the first time, I did say, yes, John, you're right. It's an ill nation, and when you say that, that is a part of changing the economic system. Our economic system, by design, creates that scenario. The mathematical formula all economic systems are governed by some mathematical formula. They don't tell you that in business school, right? But it's a mathematical formula that governs the system. And in a system where those with capital grow at 7% plus and those without capital grow at a much lesser percentage, it is not sustainable, as you just said, because again, as that pie, which is a closed system, grows, what occurs? The disparities, the wealth disparity and income disparity is comes out from exactly what you just said.
The wealth disparities are unsustainable.
You're right.
The wealth are just magnificently unsustainable.
Right.
And, can I switch gears slightly? If I know you have other callers.
Yeah, I got other callers I got to go to.
Thoughts on? Yeah, I know you got to go. What are your thoughts on classic liberals like Bill Maher? I sort of identify with him. I mean, like liberal classic, meaning liberty, freedom.
Let me just tell you, I got you. I was a great admirer of Bill Maher until a recent change. Bill Maher has signed a pact with the devil, is what many of us have been saying recently. Bill Maher knows better. Bill Maher used to say the things as they are, but Bill Maher has come to the conclusion that being progressive now is somehow pie in the sky. And from the discussion that you and I have just had, being progressive is not pie in the sky, because you identified the problem. The problem was our economic system. Bill Maher thinks the economic system, for all practical purposes, is just fine. He doesn't. I mean, he never thought that way before. But now he has changed. So in principle, I used to align with him perfectly. Lately, I don't know what has happened. But John, look, thank you for one other thing that you said, John. Caller. Yeah, but before, I would need to answer one other thing. Please don't fall for the trap look, I think our president is too damn old. Biden is too damn old, I think. And I'm not, this is not to be offensive to my older listeners, but look, people have asked me, why don't you run? I'm like, I'm too damn old to run. We need to leave the run-in for the 30-somethings and the 40-somethings right now. But here's the thing. Biden is very, very smart. He has a lot of old ways that need changing, that I think the progressive wing was successful in getting him to pass several policies that helped Americans. That's where we went from 80% to 60%. But I think he's very smart with the right push. I think he'll do just fine. We would have loved somebody else, but that's who we got. Thank you very much, John, for entertaining and allowing me to say some important things. You have a wonderful day, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel. And number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.
Absolutely so. Absolutely so. Anyway, folks, I don't know what's going on in Russia. A terrorist attack killed 40 people so far. The roof of the convention center, or I think it's the opera center or something, is falling in. That has a capacity of like 9,000 people, and it was sold out. It's really, really a bad thing. We don't know where it's going. Michael Radin says, I used to follow Bill Maher, because he was good under Bush and Obama, but since Trump got elected, something went wrong with him. I can't agree with you more. I cannot agree with you more that has been the case. Let's see, what else have we got? What else have we got? Bridge MCP says, Egberto, Attorney General prepares to seize Trump's massive New York estate. Done March 6 documents show that New York Attorney General Letitia James has started preparing to seize his family's hallowed grounds at Seven Springs, a billionaire tycoon's Bruce Wayne-like mansion surrounded by 212 acres of dense woods and rolling hills. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Yes, it is. Ray, my brother Ray, come on in. How are you doing this morning or this afternoon, sir?
I'm good, brother Egberto, and I was listening to the brother this morning. I think I heard the morning show, but Yeah, I wanted to say, as far as moving forward in this country, I'm hoping that as time goes on, people realize as time goes on, the Democrats realize how much ammo they have against Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you talk about a sick country, one of the things I say is that Donald Trump is a parasite. Donald Trump is a virus. Okay, Donald Trump is a cancer to this country, in essence. And the reason I say that is because a lot of people don't like Joe Biden. And I said this in 2020 when it was election time. Look, Donald Trump is a cancer to this country, and if you don't remove him, immediately, then eventually what he does is going to consume this country, and it's going to eat away until what happens to most cancer victims is the cancer eats away at them, and then they die.
Mm-hmm.
I know that unfortunately because of what happened to my mother. But
Mm-hmm.
besides the fact, like Joe Biden was what I liken to chemotherapy. I mean, it was the necessary evil to kill the
Mm-hmm.
cancer. It was like I didn't feel like Joe
Wow.
Biden. I didn't feel like Joe Biden was the best, ultimate, healthiest answer. But like you said, he had benefits like basically he had the ear of Bernie Sanders.
Right.
So we
And
got
you,
some of the progressive policy we wanted. But I'm going to let you step in on that. I just want to bring that in. I feel like I made an epiphany just now.
yeah, let me tell you, I love the way you said that we hate chemotherapy, right? But there are times it
Right.
is necessary. And I love what you said. He is the cancer. Biden is the chemotherapy. You don't have to like all the side effects and all of that, but sometimes it is necessary. That was the primo perfecto analogy that you just gave there, brother. I'm gonna steal that from you sometime. I
You're
will.
more than welcome.
You know, I'll steal that from you sometime. Before you go, let me just say, welcome Tom C from from Michigan. Welcome Paul Fleming from Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome. I think I saw Yvette Avery Herod from Atlanta, Georgia. And let's see, I don't see. Okay, great. Anyway, continue, my brother.
Yeah, so I mean, as they keep on showing more coverage, I mean, people have to see, and I mean, Trump is he's only going to worsen the problem of capitalism in this country. That's the thing about it. It's like when he got up on the podium, he always talked about all this Antifa, anti-fascist, communist stuff, and it's like he fed right into that right wing talking point. And when it comes to Bill Maher, we talked about Bill Maher the other day. Like I said, I can't watch Fox News and Newsmax and all these right wing, outlets. But I mean, basically he leaned into his libertarian roots because, although he did used to, spin into progressive values at one point when we had, Barack Obama was the president. I think that's when he had probably some of his best times as a political
Right.
commentator. But when Trump came and it's like he said, well, maybe progressive values are too extreme and maybe, and one of the things I can tell you a story real quick. When he was doing his show, he had a segment that he actually named, How Long Is It Going to Take Me to Build My Solar uh, Shed? And he
Yeah.
actually had an entire segment about it, how it took like 2,000 days because of the California bureaucracy. And he was like, yeah, everybody who wants more government and progressive values and all that, move to California and try to get a shed built for solar power and see how progressive you become then with all the red tape and your bureaucracy. So basically, he's saying that, living in California is not all it's cracked up to be with progressive values and blue races going all Democrat because there's a lot of bureaucracy in that government, but it's not that much better here in Texas where
Right.
you have to, and I don't know, and I'm gonna go a little bit in the weeds, and I'm gonna leave not right now, Egberto, because I know I take a lot of time. I love talking to you, brother, but I feel like other people deserve a chance to talk. So, but I'm going to go really in the weeds. How ridiculous is it in Texas that a person who wants to, in their spare time, browse some adult content, you have to do a freaking age verification now to browse adult content in Texas. Now, if there's nothing more invasive than what you browse on your computer, I don't know what is. Texas is out of line, and they need to stop policing people's private lives.
Well,
it started with abortion. Now, and I have a feeling a lot of Republican husbands are not going to appreciate that.
Well, let me just let me. It's ridiculous that they passed that law. It's ridiculous that if you try to go onto a site that is deemed to be a porn site or whatever, it automatically has to pop up with this message that says age verification, etc. But let me tell folks, if let's go ahead and tell folks what they need to do. If you go ahead and purchase a product or get a free product, a VPN product, right? And you host your VPN out of some other country, you won't have to go through that trouble because your IP address would not be a one localized to Texas. So what I find with politicians, those that are going after TikTok, those that are going after is they don't understand the universality of the internet, or not only that, but how you cannot stop free speech on the internet. It's just like Russia puts a blank on Facebook. All you got to do with that is get a non-IP driven VPN or any one of these services that completely hides the traffic that you're getting. So they can try to get around it. Anybody who wants to see porn or anything else will get around it with getting a VPN from any one of the. What VPN do I use anyway? I can't remember. I think I use and I'm coming back to the program, but I want to be informative to my brothers and my sisters. Okay.
Opera actually has a good browser for that. Opera. They have a free VPN.
There you go.
Built in.
There you go. So you can use any one of those, and all you have to do is set the VPN to a country or a state other than Texas, or that doesn't have those requirements, and you can scan and go to wherever you want. So for those people who are internet not savvy, remember the word VPN, different country, and you can go scan and view whatever you want. Anything else, brother?
Well, thank you for the community service you did for everybody for the VPN. But I'm just saying, in a state that's supposed to yell freedom from the highest rung, I don't see much freedom in that, and I'm gonna leave on that.
There isn't.
Stay blessed and have a.
Thank you, brother. You have a wonderful
beautiful day, my brother.
Have a great weekend. Take care, brother. All right, folks. Bridge MCP says, Paul, Irish famine, which Britain hoarded food. 1 million people died. In fact, if I recall correctly, Bridge, that's when a whole lot of Irish came to the United States on boats and all of that. Michael Rodden says the point of government bureaucracy should be to prevent corporate malfeasance, to prevent heavy pollution, and to prevent the destruction of the commons. They can be bad regulations and red tape, which people can point to that need to be trimmed, and they can do something about it. Let's see. Michael says, Egberto, please read this out. To live comfortably in our country, from the highest 138,000 in New York to the lowest 75,000 in Houston. Those are some crazy income requirements. Live comfortably. What's the average American salary? Last I checked, it was 56,000. That means more than half our people aren't living comfortably. And you wonder why so many are having a hard time living in this country? It's no wonder why so many conservatives pine for the good old days that aren't coming back. And that never really was for a whole lot of people. Anyway, but he says 1 million fled to the United States. Actually, yes. Paul Fleming says the gap between tax owed and tax collected was 688 billion. I know it was high. I didn't know it was that high, Paul. Nearly half the size of the last year's deficit. For every $1 the IRS spends auditing rich tax cheats, it collects $12. If the GOP truly cared about the deficit, they would fund the IRS, not gut it. Egberto, it was for the white conservatives who want to return our country to some mythical past. You nailed it. You nailed it. And Eric, no, we're not moving. You can move, though, but we'll have some coffee before you move. but you can move if you don't like what we progressives are doing to make this a better country. Representative AOC, there is no world in which intentional forced famine of 1.1 million people cannot be considered genocide. And that is exactly what we're watching unfold in Gaza now. It is against United States law to transfer weapons to any force blocking U.S. humanitarian assistance. We must enforce compliance and halt. All right. Did I miss any major piece here that folks wanted to? Let's see. Congratulations to Mike Johnson for performing the most basic function of his job and funding the government with the help of 185 Democrats. And for that, Marjorie Greene Taylor, MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene, is looking for his head now. Tom C says, spring in Michigan, 4 inches of snow on the ground and temperatures in the 20s. Thanks for warm political discussion. Well, you know that. But Tom, if you're here and we haven't heard a limerick in a week, you know what I'm going to ask you? Where is our darn limerick of the day? Anyway, J. Ray says, let's make America great again, the way Michael Moore envisioned it, where billionaires pay 75% on every dollar they make, over $1 billion, and let's see how motivated they are for growth. Very good point, my brother. Very good point. All right, another caller to the show called in, and her thing was, this is how we are going to create relationships and speak to our MAGA brothers and sisters. We understand that a large amount of them, but you know what? We are human beings and we try. All right, let's go to Liz, line number 4. I don't think I've seen Liz before. Come on, Liz. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing fine, Egberto. How are you doing?
I am doing great.
It's Liz Townsend. I have kind of a perspective about talking to Republicans and why they also are so entrenched in that sort of MAGA culture. Okay, so I do a lot of political work, and part of that is doing canvassing, doing surveys of voters and asking them different questions and just literally coming up to their door, because most people don't see past their own doorway, if you know what I mean. So you go to their door to inform them and educate them. And we have a saying where voters come for the candidate, but they stay for the organizers.
Wow.
They stay for the relationships that they build. Because this person may not they may not be perfectly affable and genial and intelligent, and even though they might represent Trump, the relationship they've built with that organizer is going to be more important to them, and that's really difficult to break through. Plus, to be able to go on such a widespread sort of campaign to change people's minds or educate them would take an immense amount of resources. We're talking like Obama type canvassing. And when these people are in that echo chamber, there's nothing that can really pull them out of it unless they're personally affected.
Liz, no, actually, you made perfect sense. And actually, you talk about some of the stuff, the book that I told you about that's in there. And it's genius what you just said. They stay for the organizer. They stay for that person. They have a personal relationship with whoever that person is. You go and you stay with that person and you talk over the problems that they have. And you relate how the candidate that you are canvassing for is going to help mitigate their problems. It doesn't matter what their ideology is. If they think that candidate is going to solve that problem, that's who they vote for. You know how you can tell that is a solution that works? A guy named Sherrod Brown in Ohio. Sherrod Brown in Ohio always shows that he's for the working class. He supports policies for the working class. And as Ohio goes bat, crazy, the person that always get elected is Sherrod Brown, because he goes into East Palestine and he stays in East Palestine. He goes into all these other places and he touches, he feels, he hugs. He let people know that he really cares for them, irrespective. I don't care if you call yourself MAGA. I don't care if you call yourself this. He shows that he cares about human beings. And what you're saying about the voter stays because of the personal relationship that they've developed with that canvasser representing that candidate is what it's all about. Politicians are generally, many are so damn lazy, they don't go out there and do the work to earn the trust of people. And this is not to give people a pass who are just bad people. But this is saying people don't turn bad in a vacuum. People turn bad because of a whole lot of situations. That goes for criminals, that goes for voters, that goes for everything. So first of all, thank you for being a canvasser. You are one of the most important parts of our democracy. So thank you.
Thank you. No, I mean, it's really important. It's very helpful, especially to local candidates. We have runoffs happening right now. So please look into that. I cannot remove everybody's name, but it just it's a sense of tribalism with them. Republicans are ride or die, and trying to organize Democrats is like herding cats.
Look, let me tell you. Some other time, I'll tell you the story about me and a Republican woman in a coffee shop. And but I have to go to other callers right now. But Liz, I appreciate your call and thank you for your positivity and thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you, and I hope your wife's feeling better.
Actually, we got out of the hospital just last night, so thank you.
Oh, that's good. That's good. All right. Well, you take care.
You too now.
We spend a lot of time
Absolutely. So I enjoyed listening to Liz as well. Liz was my hero of the day because she's a canvasser and she goes out there and she works our democracy, things that we are supposed to do. If we really want to support particular candidates, etc. These are the kinds of things that we have to do. So power on to Liz. That's why I wanted to bring her into the fold on this. Yesterday, I told you I was going to bring you a piece that I hadn't shown yet. And this one has to do with Biden. And well, I tell you what. Yeah, let me do this piece first. And then this one has to do with, I'll go ahead and play it and then we'll take it on the other side. There was a segment on Deadline White House that I think we need to take a look at. And pretty much it was giving advice to the president as far as how to win, the things that he has to do. I mean, he had all of his people, the people that formerly were on the not the board of directors, but the cabinet for President Trump. They all came out against him. They all said that he's unfit to govern. So the panel was given some advice as far as how those guys need to be used to help convince people that Donald Trump is just not fit for office. And they gave some other advice. But I think there is some important advice that it was missing. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Eddie, weigh in on this part of it because you do have some dynamics that play out there. For example, in his new book, Jim Sciutto at CNN spoke with former Trump officials. And from those conversations, he said former National Security Advisor John Bolton told him that Trump would hold up the tip of his Sharpie pen and say, well, that's Taiwan. See this resolute that's China. His point, Taiwan is too small to defend itself against Chinese invasion and too small for the U.S. to care about. So you have Donald Trump sort of creating this worldview in this kind of imagery. You also then have what both Alexei and Mike are talking about happening domestically in terms of how something like January 6th is playing out with voters out there. There's a lot hanging in the balance here. How do you think we get it back in some semblance of balance?
I've been struggling to figure that one out, Mike. To be honest with you, it seems to me it's not about just simply low information voters. It's about a kind of tribalism. It's about the deep divisions that define the country and how party identification, whether it's Republican Party or MAGA Republicanism, right, kind of gets to core existential issues in some ways. But I do know this. I think it's important for that list of Republicans that you began the segment with, who say that Donald Trump shouldn't come close to the White House. They need to be active in keeping him out of the White House. It's not enough just to say it. They need to follow the Liz Cheney model. I can't believe I just said they need to follow. I never imagined me saying that.
It's a good model. It's a good model.
Liz Cheney model. Yeah, they need to follow the Liz Cheney model. That doesn't just simply involve voting for Joe Biden. It can involve, as Alexi said, split ticket. It could involve leaving the presidential ballot blank, because the turnout is actually the key to this election. Can Biden get his base out? Will Trump get more of his supporters out? And if these folk in some ways help suppress the vote, then we can keep him out of the White House. But first, they need to do more than just simply say, keep him out of the White House. They need to act accordingly to that view, it seems to me.
So, Lexi, can they do that? Can the Biden campaign rev itself up to do exactly what Eddie just said? Because I think it's a critical part of this. You've got these where in the history of campaigns? I mean, go all the way back to the beginning, the first presidential 1800, right? Mm-hmm. When have you seen cabinet officials and other officials of an administration come out and go, keep this guy away from the office of the presidency? So can the Biden campaign make that message stick and resonate with those voters we were just talking about?
I mean, I think certainly they can. And it's just a matter of how they can thread the needle. Obviously, the Biden campaign is smart enough to know they're not going to put all their chips on the table right now in March or whatever month we're in. They're going to wait until it gets closer to the election to really start going hard against Trump. I would imagine starting from the conventions this summer through November, we will see all of the work that the Biden campaign is doing between now and then to really wrangle those folks, not just as maybe quiet supporters, to rally their other folks, donors that they can talk to who went to Nikki Haley, who are now like, I absolutely don't want to give my money to Trump. I know that the Biden folks will also be reaching out to them. And so it's really, they have a lot of time to do that. I don't think it makes sense to sort of come out now and do that, because then Trump has all this time to bill them as rhinos and totally discredit them.
But it's going to bill them as rhinos anyway, Mike. I mean, exactly. I just think that we need to, because I want to put a finer point on it, because Nicole said something very important, I think, that feeds into where I think you're going to go next. Not to tell your answer before you give it, but, she talked about this large group of never Trump Republicans out there and the very important dynamics that are occurring out. These Republicans who voted for Trump in the past, who are now sitting on the fence and could potentially lean and move into supporting or even doing something different. Are there enough of them, number one? And how does the Biden campaign actually move those folks? Is it tapping into that body of folks out there from the administration? What is the strategy here?
Well, I think if you're the Biden campaign, I wouldn't wait. I'd treat it like a monster movie. I'd get him now, cut off his head and bury it in another state. Take no chances, full offense. I think you saw a little of that at the State of the Union. It was good. It helped move him forward. It also helps undo the age thing where, look, he can still throw a pretty good haymaker, the old guy. He's got something in him. Helps him do it every day. As far as how to use these things, the key to the election is just like it was last time. Suburban college-educated voters. And they used to all be Republican. Now they're moving over to the Democrats because they're offended by Trump. Simultaneously, Trump does great with the white working class, not college-educated. So you got to offset that a little. So I do that. I'm careful about my dog whistles. This Biden budget, hey, suburbanites who make good money, I'm going to raise your taxes. Big era. They don't want that fight. Gives Trump a cudgel. So you target there, you push back internally on moving too left because you're worried about your young progressives. In the end, they're not for Trump. You're get them back. Don't alienate your suburbanites. And offense, and make it about motive. And they're doing this. I give them credit. Trump is on Trump's side. Biden is on Biden's side. The other thing, Biden ought to run a team effort. Get the cabinet in there. He's got superstars like Raimundo and Buttigieg. Mitch Landrieu, one of the best pure
Put him on the street.
Surround him. The action team. Trump's team looks like a RICO case.
Go
for the contracts,
Don't wait to take out the monster. You had me there.
Now, for the advice that was missing, number one, leave TikTok alone. Whatever you're going to gain from others, you're going to lose by messing with TikTok. And the person that's going to pay the price for getting rid of TikTok or banning TikTok or selling TikTok, when that changing the algorithm, etc., will be the person who signs the bill, President Biden. Unfortunately, those guys in Congress, meaning both the Congress and the Senate and the president, they are so darn old that they just don't understand technology. And they don't understand that the advice that they're given is corporate-driven advice from our companies in this country to somehow take over a platform that is threatening our own companies. I mean, I know a lot of folks are going to say, well, TikTok and all of that they don't allow Facebook in China. Well, you know what we did? We made the initial mistake and allowed TikTok, a company that's not completely American or whatever, here. But even above and beyond that, TikTok is mostly owned by others anyway. But here's the kicker. There's no data that TikTok can pick up that China cannot buy already. There's also nothing that TikTok can do to manipulate people's minds that Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, and all these others are not already doing or cannot be done by people buying ads to do exactly that. So you're opening up a can of worms. There is absolutely nothing, as a technologist myself, there's absolutely nothing within TikTok that banning TikTok will slow down the Chinese government from being able to do. That's not even a statement up for debate. And those darn guys in Congress are so old, taking advice from a whole bunch of charlatanes who are really in this so that they can get the business that otherwise TikTok has. They're going to call. I mean, there's so many pieces that Biden is doing to take a victory to take a defeat out of a victory. Another thing, the Israeli thing. Okay, now they're going to talk about a ceasefire. That's a good thing. That kind of bring back some of our progressives into the fold. But then at the same time, you don't clamp down the pressure as they should on Netanyahu. You have to actively come out and slam Netanyahu, not Israel, Netanyahu, and make sure to get it done. And don't disregard progressives. If you listen to one of the advisors, they pretty much says, those progressives don't have anywhere to go, so they're going to come home. No, they're not going to come home. They're going to stick it to you if they feel you're taking it for granted, because they don't care. A lot of progressives, they're doing just fine. They hate that Trump could win, but they'll survive under Trump. It's the base that will get hurt, not these guys. So please, the advice that he got from this panel was pretty good, but there's a lot more. The one that's going to actually win the elections is exactly what I said. Don't mess with TikTok. Make sure that Netanyahu pays a price, and also do not take progressive policies for granted. Do not assume that because you did well by progressives that somehow they're going to stick around if you mess with their morality. Don't.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it.
Yep. Don't. Jay Ray says, don't read my last chat. It's jumbled up. Okay, you don't want me to unpack it. Breaking: the suspected squatters have been taken into custody after they allegedly killed a woman who walked in on them living in her mother's house in New York City. Police said the victims came to the U.S. to prepare their late mother's Manhattan apartment for a family friend. Sources said, but when she went inside, she found a man and a woman squatting there, the sources said. What was that all about, Paul? I imagine there's a backstory to that, but I don't know what it is. Okay. Squatters wanted murder after woman found dead. Okay. All right. Lee Grant says RCP average has Trump 2% over Biden. Well, that means Biden is winning then. That means Biden is winning, because the polls have been like 7 to 8% positive towards Trump after we see the results. So I can live with that. All right. Jay Ray said, that's how we're going to win this democracy, one conversation at a time. Exactly right. New York has some weird laws regarding squatters' rights compared to homeowners' rights. You'd figure if squatters come into an unoccupied home, they should be treated as thieves. Make sure they didn't steal anything. Then get them out. Figures out. Actually, that is true. I wonder why we don't do that. Vrij MCP, come on in, my dear beautiful lady. How are you doing this afternoon?
Okay, how you guys doing? And
I'm doing fine.
I wanted to comment on something, and it just blew my mind right now what it was. I forgot.
That's all right. You're on. So
we talking about it. I know. I got to remember what I wanted to say.
Well, maybe I can juggle your mind.
My mind.
Well, you'll remember.
I know. What were we talking about?
We were talking.
I wanted to say something.
Well, we were talking about the thing that we just came off was TikTok. That was one of the topics. The other topic that we were talking about.
I remember.
Got it.
I remember.
Go for it.
Jay Ray said something about one conversation at a time. And I told you how I've been trying to work up here with people.
Yes.
It's very hard when you're a MAGA country. And we have a site for the town, and then we have an uncensored site for the town.
Mm-hmm.
The non-censored one, which I belong to both, but the non-censored, there's no politics in that. Well, I made a couple of posts in the last week or so that were not political, just stuff that was going on. And of course, people started saying, Biden did that, Biden lied. I mean, I made a post of a groundhog because he got 4 inches of snow and said I lied. And right away they said, yep, just like Democrats. And I was like, are you really seriously? You're going to make that political? It's a friggin' rodent. But anyway, one thing led to another. I know. One thing led to another. And a couple of people commented, and I didn't want to get involved because they got political. But people know them in town, and I listened, and then I commented, and before you know it, 10 people, not only liked my comment, but messaged me privately and said to me, we can't talk about this shit, but blah, blah, blah. So I told them about the Powell Manifesto and Project 25, and now I'm being bombarded by them all for more information.
That's what,
so that's
girl.
one thing. So I was like, that's making a difference. And then today I went to get my hair cut, and my hair cutter, I love her, but she's nuts. She didn't tell me she was going to do this. She's an evangelistic. She's Republican, but she's reasonable and up to conversation. So she likes when I come in because she questions me about things that are going on. What does that really mean? Did that really happen? Stuff like that. And what she did today was, a sneaky little son of a gun, what she did today was bringing a full MAGA person. She made our appointments overlap and didn't tell me. And I noticed on the bumpers, she had a sticker on her gas tank that said, Biden did that. When I was going in, I was like, oh, I wonder who that is. And I went in, and it was that woman I didn't know. And right away, I said something, and she said, well, that's the friggin' Democrats. That's Biden. That's this. And I said, whoa. I said, I'm not here to do politics. I'm getting my hair cut. But she went on and on. And I said, finally, look, if you want to discuss politics, I'm up to it, but you have to tell me true stuff. And she didn't. And she got angry and yelled. And she was screaming at me to the point that the hairdresser said, hey, Jay Ray, I see you say hello. And to the point that she said, you have to stop yelling. I said, well, that's how they feel their voices heard, that they yell at you. They think the louder they are, the more sense it makes. It doesn't. What you're saying is not true. And she got more angry and more angry. And each time I would slowly calm down and say, where did you hear that? I didn't hear that. She goes, well, you must listen to MSNBC. I said, no, I listen to independent media. And I do research. She goes, no, everything out there is a lie. She just went, and my point is, she went on and on and on. Then my hairdresser stopped everybody and said, everybody shut up. And she's evangelistic. And she said, everybody shut up. We're all in the same boat here. You're going and saying to the woman, you think that man is a god. You worship him. He's not a god. He's a liar. I was like, ooh, she never said that before. And she went on and on about how Trump and all his crap. And I said, you're right. He is a liar. That's what he is. He's a liar, and you're falling for it. I said, what do you watch? Fox? Newsmax? And she goes, no, I don't watch Fox. They're all liars. I watch Newsmax. I said, they're liars too. They don't tell you the truth. And anyway, we had to stop it. I said, look, we have to stop this because I'm going to need tequila. I can't do this. And I left and I went outside, had a cigarette. My point is that the one conversation at a time, and that I've been here 2.5 years, is slowly working.
Let me tell you something,
right,
Bridge.
Jay Ray, and you.
Bridge, I am so proud of you, girl. You would not imagine as you are speaking what's happening in my heart, man. It is like, yes, because even when the evangelical woman stood up for you, in effect, that's what she did. In effect, she stood up for you to say, and she gave other people in that store permission to listen to you, man. That is powerful.
She did it on purpose.
Yes.
When the woman left, her daughter came in. She owns a coffee shop right next door in the same building. And she came over and she said, "Oh my God," because she came in the middle of it all with a daughter, a baby. And she said, "Did you tell her that you planned this?" And I said, "You planned this?" She goes, "Yep, I planned it. I wanted her here and you here at the same time to see what would happen." And she goes, "You were great. You told her everything that was right. And some things I disagree, but you educated me. You'll never educate her."
Wow.
Ever. That's the way she is. She's one of those that you cannot help.
But you know what is so great about what happens there as well, Bridge? Because other people were listening in and they watched your character, they watched her character, they watched the interaction between the evangelical woman as well, who you had already imparted some knowledge on. That made a big change in these folks. And that's how it's done. You nailed it, girl. You nailed it.
Exactly.
You nailed it.
I stayed so calm.
You nailed it.
I just wanted to tell you that I'm starting to realize there's a lot more of me here than I realized.
Yes. So, and anyway, the fact that after you wrote that article or wrote those comments, that you got private messages, you start to get the people thinking. I don't know if you recall, yesterday I spoke about the message that I replied to a woman who said it's Bidenomics. And then when we went ahead and went in a logical conversation, people started banging on it. So, I mean, you did the right thing. Thank you very much for this call. You made my day.
Oh, good. I'm glad. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend. All right, folks, we are close to the end of the show. I think Radnan wanted me to read something as an addendum, and I can't find it now. Let's see if I can pick it up, because it was an addendum. I know why he wrote it. I don't think you had to write it, though, because I think people understand where you stand as far as where you stand in your humanity. Let's see. I want to find when Trump is convicted. Not that one. Let's see. I want to find it because it's about the rent. It's about the rent that you wanted to say. I'm pulling it up. And here we go. I have an addendum on my last comment. If a squatter is homeless, just looking for a place to find shelter, they should be treated kindly. We need to address our homeless problem with actually providing small homes. Yes, we do. But again, we can't let squatters, if I own a home and a squatter comes in there, I think the response, your original response covered it. We need to be sympathetic with the people who need a shelter. But at the same time, a lot of squatters, I saw a couple of TikToks where squatters were using the New York law to pretty much take over other people's homes. And those people who have their home had to spend a whole lot of money to get the squatter out. It's a silly, silly, silly law in New York that needs to change. So that's my spiel. Anyway, look, I can't read any more of the messages online, but what I got to make a quick pitch. Please remember to support the program. We could not make it without your support at all. And how can you support the program? All-encompassing link is politicsdoneright.com/support. politicsdoneright.com/support. That's the link right there. If you want to become a patron, which gives you the option to read all of my books on my website, that's politicsdoneright.com/Patreon, politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. Alternatively, if you want to support our program going forward, could you please become a subscriber to our newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. It's a free newsletter, but it has an option for you to become a paid member. If you become a paid subscriber is what I should say. If you become a paid subscriber, you will have access to all of my books. You won't have to buy them per se. You can just go ahead and read them on Substack. And at the same time, you are helping Politics Done Right keep doing what we do, which takes a lot of time and is very, very expensive to do. Well, expensive relatively. I do this stuff cheaper than most people do it because I am technically adept. But again, it is very important for us to get funded. So please consider becoming a subscriber of our newsletter by going to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. And one other thing, I have my new book that's out, Tribulations of an Afro-Latino Caribbean Man. All right. It's a book for everybody. It's a book for everybody. Racism didn't stop my smile, hope, or journey forward. And whether you're white, black, blue, whatever you are, you're going to enjoy the book. I guarantee you. You can get that book at politicsdoneright.com/books, politicsdoneright.com/books, along with all my other books, if you choose to do that. Look, I couldn't do this without the great audience that I have. I couldn't do this without the great people that I have. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know exactly how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel. And number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.